our TV talk episode of the week. This week we are going to be talking about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode
The Last of Us,
6.
Episode 5. 6, yes.
6.
Guns for Hire.
Guns for Hire. Luke, what'd you think about this episode?
What did I think about this episode? We'll answer this like I'm in a 3rd grade. I thought this episode... Listen, this probably isn't the worst episode they've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably hated this one the most.
Ooh.
It's because, I think I'm, at my tipping point. What are we doing? What is this show? It felt like it was just a cameo show and tell. There was so little story development. You only need to watch the last 5 minutes. Which feels like a recurring theme in this show.
Boy, this season, more and more, unfortunately, it does kind of feel like there's stuff that happens in the middle, but it does not really affect our characters. It affects the plot.
It's
it affects
a side
what's
quest.
happening, but at the end of the day, it's not pushing these characters to grow in any meaningful way.
They needed XP to get to the Mando section of the planet. So they had to go do a side quest, solve a little crime, so they could hit the next level. And it was kind of, I don't know, feel like it would have been interesting anywhere else. Like if it wasn't Star Wars, almost.
Sure. Well, and we were kind of talking about this before the show started, and I think there's interesting stuff in there. Like they have interesting ideas, and this is something I've probably said before, but they refuse to explore the interesting ideas. Rather, they just are like, hey, have you ever thought about what would a separatist feel like in the New Republic? Oh, I haven't thought about separatists in 20 years because they were eliminated. Well, we're going to have that little tease, hey, what if? But then we're not really going to go anywhere with it. I think that's what's so frustrating is that they have they have their eyes on the prize for them, which is the whole thing around Mandalore. And they're hyper-focused on that. And there doesn't seem to be any room anymore in this show to explore these other nooks and crannies of the galaxy. I think season 2 was so great with what's his name, the Ranger guy who had Boba Fett's armor,
Cobb Vanth.
What
an interesting character he was.
Is
he dead? Did he die in Boba Fett?
I can't remember. But
was really unclear.
What an interesting little we're gonna have this little 3-episode arc with, and now I just don't feel like we get any arc anywhere.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's super discouraging.
It's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
When did Star Wars become so boring? And I was talking to my cousin about it. He's like, the action is so bad this season.
The only thing
it feels so generic.
Yeah. Yeah. We've praised the space battle stuff. Some of the stuff with the starships, those are great. But yeah, you're right. Even the final 5 minutes of this, there's a little fight scene, and you're like, okay, jetpacks, it's cool. But it's not really.
No, I'm waiting for somebody to fall to their death with a jetpack on in the show. I'm just waiting for it because I feel like it's gonna happen.
Hey, we addressed that they run out of fuel. So
they flew halfway across the planet, though, right?
I don't know.
They were flying a really long way.
Time and space mean nothing. But to also walk back to your point there, Luke, I don't necessarily have a problem with Star Wars bringing in bigger name actors and actresses to do stuff.
You know what? Neither do I. But when it distracts you from everything else in the show, that's when it becomes a problem. And this show was, hey, look, it's Jack Black and Lizzo, among others.
Right.
And I didn't want to be with them. Lizzo was terrible. She's not a good actress.
Great musician, not a great actress.
Jack Black was okay.
Yeah, I found him to be fine, but again, he's a seasoned veteran in terms of he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And then they brought poor Christopher Lloyd in.
Man's got to eat. Like we kept going back and like watching them play yard games or whatever. It's just like, why are you showing me this? Why are you wanting me to care about this? And I didn't. They did not make me care.
Didn't do
I don't even know if they were supposed to. Maybe it's just because Grogu's there and we have to show that he's around.
He's around. He exists. Yeah.
This was another episode of Hey, can you watch my kid?
Yeah, and
remember when he had that great moment at the end of season 2 when he and Din said goodbye to each other.
It's so emotional.
I was like crying.
Yeah.
Means
now they say goodbye every
means
episode.
Nothing now. Means nothing now.
Yeah. No, not look, not a great episode, unfortunately.
And then like the last 5 minutes, which is the only important part, is Bo-Katan getting the Darksaber back.
In the least interesting way possible.
In the least interesting way, just actually, you can take my word for it. I got beat up, and she beat up that guy with the lightsaber because I dropped it. So she's actually the ruler now. And then all the Mandos are just like,
yeah, that sounds about right. That checks out.
Works. I totally believe you.
We got some fact checking that needs to... No, we're good.
Got any security footage?
Look, if there's anything I've learned from
also there's a big dragon on our planet.
The last 3 years, it's that a bunch of armed mercenaries would not just be like, "Oh yeah, I take your word about that information on who is in charge of us." Like it wouldn't happen.
We're watching whatever Axe. I think what's his name?
Axe Diesel.
Something.
Rage.
Axe.
Axel
Rhodes. No, we're watching them fight, and I feel like that should have been towards the beginning. They should have just went and met him, and then they should have been like, "Oh, you want to rule? Fight Din," and had a really intense fight and win it back if you're gonna do that. Or you could have just done what we said 4 episodes ago, and she just takes it. She earned it.
Yeah.
When he lost it back in episode 2 or whatever that was.
Yeah. The problem is there's no drama, and not that there has to be drama. I'm doing the air quotes drama, but again, what's the point of him just getting it back if he's just gonna give it away? And then there's no. You could do something interesting with that, and they just didn't, and they just haven't, and it's been frustrating.
Heck, you could have even, if you're gonna do this CSI Scooby-Doo episode throughout the entire thing, and you keep showcasing that Din is extremely racist towards droids, you could develop that so he's not.
Boy, I thought we were kind of past that with him. I know
he's just F these droids.
We touched on it a little bit at the beginning of the season with he's the only droid I get, IG-88, who thank God hasn't come back. But
yet
there's still 2 episodes. You're right. But yeah, I thought that was kind of the point of his season 1 arc. No, we're just still gonna be oh yeah, no, droids are the worst, and again, another interesting thing that you could play around with is the nature of droids in Star Wars. That's something that a number of the movies have touched on and they haven't really committed into leaning into what does it mean to be a droid in the Star Wars universe, and I think a show could probably get away with that. Not this show, I'll admit. I don't think this show is probably the right place for it, but
maybe a Star Wars Visions
something. Well, something like Andor could probably get away with it. That kind of story versus we just want to see the big man in the jetpack shoot the things and the little green friend hop around.
Cheats at yard games.
Yeah.
There is the episodes in Clone Wars where all the droids go off to the salt planet and
that's right.
kind of develop a bit.
That's right. It's been a while since I've watched those.
Man, it's so good.
You can go back.
Some other things that I just thought were kind of weird.
Sure.
I don't know if nanobots have ever came up in Star Wars before. I couldn't really remember, but it just felt weird. Felt extremely sci-fi. Might be going, Luke, this is sci-fi. Yeah. It's fantasy in a sci-fi world or universe. But, like, you go watch, like, the movies. Holograms are trash.
Oh,
look
yeah.
terrible. You can see no detail. They're all warbly. And then here we're zooming all the way in to see perfect, crisp, clean nanobot images. It's just like, okay, that's interesting.
I also feel like there's room for like commentary there. This is like a utopia where no one works because of an exploited droid workforce.
Slavery.
and yeah, and like all we do with it is
Isn't Christopher Lloyd worried?
CSI quest.
I called it a Scooby-Doo episode because you know who the bad guy is right away.
I also like how you mentioned like we have this hologram technology that they've had around for apparently hundreds of years, but now we've got microscopes that can zoom in on these nanobots and read the etchings on them.
And I don't even hate like nanobots being a thing. It's just it felt out of place.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For sure.
I'm not used to it, I guess. The other thing that I just thought was interesting was at the end of the last episode, the armorer is like, you can take off your helmet, it's fine. And then she proceeds to never put it on once this entire episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you're in a fight, might want to slip that on. And the other guy doesn't put his on, so I guess it's fair.
It's,
but like, I don't know.
Even playing field. Yeah, I think she walked out and I was like, does she have her helmet with her? It seems like a smart idea to keep your helmet with you.
Well, here's the thing.
After you've been tractor beamed in and are like, actually, we're going to go talk to these people. I don't care what you have to say.
Listen,
Gear up for a fight.
I just had a terrible realization.
Okay.
If nanobots are a thing now, do you know what they can do?
Oh, no.
They can Marvelize every helmet.
No, please. Dear God.
Star Wars is dead if they do that.
No.
It's dead. Oh my gosh.
We'll be so sad. All right. Well, 2 episodes left. Luke, what are you looking forward to yet?
In Star Wars?
In The Mandalorian season 3. Is there any? Are we just watching it because we do this bit every week?
No,
at this point?
I would still watch it because I love Star Wars. Listen, The Bad Batch was a mixed bag all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 2 episodes of that were amazing.
All right.
Phenomenal. And it just hypes you up, and we'll probably talk about it later. Season 3 was announced, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Like, there was stakes in that. It was gritty. It was tough. Characters weren't annoying in it.
Yeah.
Which is always...
That's good.
Which is always nice. Oh my god. So I still think they can make this show better in the last 2 episodes, and they have a history of doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what we're going towards. We're gonna...
I think what we're going towards...
I don't even know what they're gonna do.
We'll talk about later.
Fight mythosaurs and...
I mean, not with this season specifically, but with these characters, it's building to something that's outside of the show because they don't know what to do with the show.
Did you see the thing where they said the Mandalorian might not... It might not just be referring to Din Djarin's character anymore.
Yeah. Pedro wants out.
Probably.
He got that Last of Us money now.
He's going to be nominated for Best Actor in a Dramatic Series of the Emmys. I don't need this anymore.
I mean, to be fair, he was probably on set one day for this season at this point.
Probably. That's the good part about never taking off your helmet. You get to record in a booth.
You get it, yeah. Yep. Show up and...
Not that they record everything on a booth anyway, because it's a volume. Oh, get wrecked.
Get wrecked. All right. Well, we hope you're enjoying The Mandalorian more than we are, but whether or not you are, thank you for tuning in and listening to this, our little discussion about it.